Welcome back to SantaPod for the final round of the 2019 European Funny Car Series. We're at the Euro finals in early September with the promise of 2 qualifying days before eliminations on the Sunday. Round 3 at Bug Jam was unfortunately rained out except for some qualifying on the Friday, so going into this event the points leader is still Kevin Chapman with Steve Ashdown second, both men having taken round wins earlier this season.
Going into the final round, we obviously missed the last round due to rain. You've got a little bit of a points deficit to catch up, but it's still just about doable.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be a good day at the office, and yeah, I'm hoping so. I mean, Kev's a good driver. You've got John Bodie tuning the car. Once he gets his head around it, it's tight, but it isn't unachievable. But it have to be a very good day at the office, as I say. You know? But yeah, it's achievable.
So Kevin Kent's engine fires up to take us into the first of 4 qualifying sessions scheduled to take place over the next 2 days here at SantaPod. Kevin is closest to us in the Autoglym lane, and in the Energy Check lane it's Jason Phelps with the iconic Gladiator car. We've just had the first qualifying session for FIA Top Fuel Dragster, and most of those cars found the track has a lot more grip than they were expecting, resulting in tyre shake and several aborted runs. So it's fair to expect that the funny cars will have the same problems until they get a handle on the track. Fierce amounts of power on tap. Our drivers need nerves of steel to get these cars from the start line to the 1,000 foot finish line. Final checks completed, moving into stage. And yes, tyre shake for Kevin and some sort of problem for Jason right from the launch, but at least they have numbers on the board and that means they're qualified. We caught up with Jason to see what the problem was.
A silly little £2.50 bracket broke, and it's the fixing point for a throttle cable, and it basically meant like I was on a throttle stop really. I was stamping on a throttle. I don't know what I would have done if it had actually come into life. It would have terrified me.
Second pair, and it's points leader Kevin Chapman with the Thermo-Reg car taking on Steve Ashdown with the Undertaker. Kevin Chapman made a strong start in round 1 at the Festival of Power, taking the event win, but the team encountered problems at round 2. With the previous round completely rained out, the teams have not had a chance to get to the root of the problem yet. In contrast, Steve Ashdown had huge problems in round 1, eventually withdrawing from the event, but the team went on to regroup and come back with a vengeance to win round 2 at the main event. Former racer John Spuffard crewing on the Thermo-Reg team there, along with John Bodie Smith from America. So much knowledge and experience on these teams. Dave Bryant makes the final checks and it's over to the drivers. Strong launches, but off the power before half track. Flash of flame from Steve's car. Let's hope that's not damage for the team.
Well, basically the burnout wasn't the greatest. We had a little bit, I think, an ignition problem, but that's resolved. And basically, we sort of underestimated the track a little bit, and I kept my foot in a bit too long. So a little bit of one after the other. Done the head and one piston. It just dragged the motor down, and the time I realised what was going on, it was too late. So that was it. It was over. But yeah, it was interesting for everyone. I think some of the runs were a bit hairy for other people. But yeah, it is what it is.
But no major damage, so you should be out for the next session?
Yeah, she's all ready pretty much to go. As I say, change one head, one piston, one sleeve, and that's pretty much it really. So yeah, we're good to go now.
I know compared to the Americans, you don't get that many runs in this country, so I guess you don't really get the chance to learn exactly what every single situation feels like, do you?
No, exactly. I mean, for me personally, I haven't been doing this very long, so I'm still quite a rookie. Every time we jump in this car, in these vehicles, it's a learning curve. Every day is a school day, as they say. And you've got to remember, we don't practice. We haven't got the money to practice. So what we do is, after 6 weeks, we jump straight in the car and just go for it again. trying to, and you forget, you do forget, you know, after the first run you go, right, you sort of get your bearings again, and you start getting a bit more acquainted again. But before you know it, the weekend's over and it's 6 weeks off and you're going again. Or if now at the end of the season, you're not running it again now to Easter next year. So yeah, it's very difficult, unlike the Americans doing 23 rounds and God knows how many practice runs before the season. So yeah, it is difficult.
Q2 now, late in the evening. Jason Phelps driving the Hawk racing car in front of a huge crowd here at Sands Pod under the floodlights. Kevin Chapman over there in the left lane. The car's looking great under the lights, but the track's cooling down rapidly and it must be getting near dew point, so we're probably not going to see full runs from either machines this time round. Quite an experience running in the dark for our drivers. A difficult job made even harder. Look out for the header flames on this one. So spectacular. Those bunny ears hinting at the power on board these cars. It must be nerve-wracking blasting off into the darkness, but these teams love to entertain, and they gave it a good shot given the cool conditions.
I've been waiting to drive fuel funny cars since I was 5 years old, and fuel funny cars at night is when they should. That's their like natural environment. You can't see, admittedly, but man, look at them. You're like, oh wow. I could see the lights of a Chapman's car, and I can in this car I can watch the header flames out the side of me. I see the glows off the walls and stuff like that. It's the most fantastic experience that there is.
And this is that spectacular view on board Jason's car. And on board with Kev Chapman now. Kevin Kent next up in the West 10 Motorsports car. Just a quick squirt then off the power. Looks like something shook loose, so some work to do in the pits overnight. So as we see the Thermo Red car get stripped down between runs, we caught up with John Spuffard, who raced in the class back in 2013.
Yeah, we've had some issues with the car not responding to what we considered it should do, which has thrown us a few curves. But at the bug jam, although we got rained out, we actually learnt an awful lot there, and I think we kind of found a few issues there that we hadn't foreseen. And it's something that Bodie's never had with all his cars, but we seem to have inherited it with this car. But again, I think we might be over that now.
So as we see John on track from 2013, are the cars still the same under the hood?
No, we've made quite a few changes to this now, just to try and keep up with the modern trend of being able to get stuff from the States as well. You end up getting stuck for parts, because no one's got parts if you don't keep up with the ongoing in the States. So basically we've had to kind of copy pretty much, although a little less power and one thing or another, and we're sort of following behind them. We just don't get enough runs, and we don't go testing. We can't go testing. So, these guys out in the States, they go testing. Oh, that's what they're doing. They're figuring it all out before they get somewhere.
Do you fancy getting back in the driving seat?
Yeah, I kind of do fancy. Yeah. I think I would get back in now. Yeah, I've had a couple of years off, so. But yeah, if the chance come up, I'll take it.
On to day 2 and qualifying session number 3. Problems right from the start for Kevin Chapman as he's pushed back to the line. So it's a solo for Jason. On the power for a bit longer before the tyre shake appears, but still not getting it dialed into the track. It's quite cold and there's some really strong winds for the drivers to contend with. The onboard replay just shows how violent that shake is. Next pair is Kevin Kent in the matte painted West 10 Motorsport car, and he's running alongside Steve Ashdown, but it looks like Steve has been told to shut the engine off by crew chief Dave Bryant, who's being pushed back from the start line. So it's a solo for Kevin. So frustrating for the team. Even an aborted run still drinks expensive nitro fuel at an alarming rate.
It's £300 for a warm-up, and we do it quite often here. When we just do the warm-up, you pull the nitro tap and it rains. So you don't do it twice, that's £600. So people don't appreciate and understand quite what we do. And I know everyone gets a bit upset when the cars don't get down the track, but trust me, no more upset than what we do as drivers, owners. You know, it's upsetting, it's frustrating.
Final qualifying session and one last chance to work out what the track needs to keep the power in all the way. That includes setting the clutch timers, which in theory deliver more and more drive as the run progresses. Here we go. Jason on the power till about half track this time in the energy check lane. Kevin Kent quite out of shape in the auto glim lane. Steve Ashdown there patiently waiting for the instruction to fire the engine. So this is the final chance to get the tune right before we go into tomorrow's eliminations. Currently Kevin Chapman is in number 1 qualifying spot, but he'll want to improve on his numbers, as will Steve Ashdown. And don't forget, that's almost 20,000 horsepower combined to control off that start line. And the dreaded tyre shake again.
Yeah, we're having problems with scuffing the pistons, and as soon as it does that, we get pan pressure and it cuts the motor. So the last 4 runs we've done at this meeting, it cuts the motor every time. So when they get in that half track, so it's a bit frustrating.
And really, until you find out what's causing it, there's nothing you can do. You just got to wait, haven't you?
Yeah, well, tomorrow we're going to turn the sensor off. And we're just going to go for it, so and hope it all holds together. We've tried absolutely everything, and Bodie, who tunes the car, he's at a loss, and we've got a very experienced crew, and everybody's sort of scratching their heads at the moment, so we'll see how we go tomorrow.
Okay, so number 1 qualifier, can you translate it into wins tomorrow?
Oh man, you know what, we're not having the best of luck this weekend. Well, I don't think any of us are right at this moment in time. It's anyone's thing, you know. I've got a very hard job of catching Mr. Chapman. You know, he's quite a way ahead. So we'll see. We've got to change the motor. So it's anyone's week. It's anyone's weekend, literally at the moment. It really is. So
it's Sunday morning and time for round 1 of eliminations. And it has to be said that no team has yet found the right setup to get down the track without tyre shake. So it's going to be a bit of a lottery in this first round. It could well come down to who's bravest driving through tyre shake or in making second stabs on the accelerator, though that in itself can cause major damage to the engines. So we've got Jason Phelps in the Gladiator and Kevin Chapman in the Thermo Red car, and just getting qualified has, we think, assured Kevin the 2019 championship, so huge congratulations to the team. Jason heading for the wall at the hit. Kevin stays on the power to well over half track, then coasting past the 1,000 foot finish line. Looks like maybe they finally solved their engine sensor problem. 4.91 at 213 miles per hour. Let's look at that from another angle. You can see just how out of shape he was. Well, the fans here at SoundsPod certainly enjoyed that one. Quickest run of the weekend in the class from the 2019 championship winning team. Kevin Kent waiting for his turn now. He'll be in the right lane taking on Steve Ashdown. Now, this run is also important to decide second and third in the championship. The winner of this race will clinch the number 2 spot. Both of these cars have gone well into the low 4-second zone in the past. They have the power, they have the ability, but the lack of runtime can prove so challenging for our teams. Bodie steps in for final adjustments. Dave Bryant does the same for Steve. Kevin's off the power. Now Steve's off the power. Back on it, stabbing the throttle. And Kevin Kent fights it past the orange markers on the finish line, just inches ahead of Steve. What a pedal fest. Kevin on and off the power for the entire run. So it's the 2 Kevins in the final.
You really had to work at that one, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. We've been struggling all weekend in the shake zone. We've tried getting around it, we haven't been able to. I said to Steve, I said, go out there and shake. I said, I'm going to run you down. I said, be ready. And it was pedalled it. I was too quick getting back on it. It was out of the groove, the car hadn't calmed down, and it got back on it and it just went all out of shape again. And then I looked over and Steve weren't there. So yeah, we crept back on it again, and I'm just staring at the wind light, waiting for it to come on. Well, I mean, we've run some numbers with the new track. You know, we've set fastest 18 miles per hour with it. This weekend's just been real difficult for us. You know, we've tried, like I said, we've tried everything. So I don't know. Let's go and see. I'm on a bye in the final. I don't think Chapman's going to make it. So we go out there. We'll put on a nice showing, and if it don't shake, we're going to try and run a number with it.
So, final time then, and as he thought, Kevin Chapman has not made it out for the final. Really bad luck after putting in that run in the semis. Final checks on the car, and the body is lowered down. This one's all about running a number and putting on a show for the loyal fans here at Santa Pod. A storming launch, header flames from the hit, but drifting over to the right, and he takes out the timing blocks. What a run! So Kevin Kent takes the event win, but Kevin Chapman takes the 2019 European Funny Car Series. In replay again, Kevin gave that run everything he had. What a way to close the season.
Overall, it's been a brilliant year. We started out to wanting to win the championship, and we have, so mission accomplished.
Where can you go for next year? Have you got plans to upgrade things?
Well, we've got lots of parts to buy. We're having a few issues with the engine, but we think we roughly know what that is now. So we're off with our shopping list to America to buy some more parts.
So, after a hard-fought season, it's Kevin Chapman and the Thermoreg team who are crowned champions, with Kevin Kent's event win sealing second place. So that was the 2019 season of the European Funny Car Series here at Santa Pod. It started way back at Easter at the Festival of Power with a wild ride for Jason Phelps. The victory at round 1 going to Kevin Chapman, taking the win over a quicker Kevin Kent. Round 2 at the main event saw Kevin Chapman beat Jason in the semi-finals to set up a final match-up with Steve Ashdown, with a very happy Steve taking the win. After rain at Bug Jam, the final round saw an uncontested final with Kevin Kent showing just how wild these cars can be. It's been quite a season, and the final word must go to Jason Phelps.
Since I was a kid, I used to lay in bed and think about driving funny cars. And now I'm driving funny cars. I am so lucky, it's untrue. It's when the bodies go down and it all goes a bit sort of claustrophobic. But personally, for me, man, I love it.